Military technology has advanced at an alarming pace in the last century. Before World War II, the development of nuclear weapons was inconceivable, but current governments have invented explosives that dwarf the hardware used during the tragic events of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Today we're looking at the 5 most powerful bombs in the world. The Tsar Bomba is the single most powerful bomb in the world today. In fact, Tsar Bomba is the Western nickname for the Soviet RDS-220 hydrogen bomb. Detonated by the Soviet Union on October 30th, 1961, Tsar Bomba is the largest nuclear device ever detonated and the most powerful man-made explosion in history. With a yield of 50 megatons of TNT, Tsar Bomba was the culmination of a number of hydrogen bomb tests conducted throughout this time by both the Soviet Union and the United States. The bomb was 8 meters long, had a diameter of nearly 2.6 meters, and weighed more than 27 tons. It was physically very similar in shape to the Little Boy and Fat Man bombs which had devastated the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki a decade and a half earlier. However, the Tsar Bomba yield was approximately 1,570 times more powerful than the yield of the bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki combined, and 10 times more powerful than all of the conventional weapons exploded during World War II. Tsar Bomba also represented 25% of the estimated yield of the Krakatoa volcanic eruption of 1883, and 10% of all nuclear tests by that point. By comparison, the B-41, the largest United States nuclear weapon, had a theoretical yield of 25 megatons. The largest nuclear device ever detonated by the United States was Castle Bravo, with a yield of 15 megatons. And the aftermath was devastating. All of the wooden and brick buildings in nearby Severny, located 34 miles from the aiming point, or ground zero, were annihilated. In other Soviet districts located over 100 miles from ground zero, wooden houses were demolished, and brick and stone ones suffered damages. Radio communication outages were also reported. One test witness felt the thermal effects at a distance of 170 miles, even with dark goggles. The intense heat from the detonation was capable of causing third-degree burns at a distance of 62 miles from ground zero. The shockwave was felt as far away as the Dixon settlement, located 430 miles away, and windows shattered at a distance of 560 miles. Windows even shattered as far away as Norway and Finland due to the atmospheric focusing of the shockwave. Despite being an airburst detonated 13,000 feet above ground, Tsar Bomba's seismic magnitude was estimated at 5 on the Richter scale. Seismic sensors continued to register shockwaves even after a third revolution around the Earth. In 2019, Vladimir Putin revealed that the feared Satan II nuclear missile had been successfully tested. The Russian leader announced his most powerful nuke, said to be capable of evading any defense system, had passed a rigorous round of tests. The weapon is more than 3,000 times more powerful than the bomb that wiped out Hiroshima, and is said to be virtually undetectable. The test is said to be Putin's way of sending a clear message of war to the world, and especially Britain, after former Prime Minister Theresa May expelled 23 Russian diplomats following the poisoning of former double agent Sergei Skripal and his daughter in Salisbury. The bomb could devastate an area the size of England and Wales combined. It has an incredibly short launch burn phase, the time US satellites find it easiest to track, and it then basically disappears. Because of its increased trajectory, the Satan II can travel over the South Pole to hit the West, rather than the shorter North Pole route. This again means it is invisible to US tracking satellites. For all the focus on North Korean rocket and warhead tests, Pyongyang has only really been catching up with technology more established nuclear superpowers acquired in the 1950s and 60s. Russia and China, in contrast, have pushed ahead with a new generation of weaponry. Both nations have focused on new land and sea-launched nuclear-tipped missiles aimed at crossing continents. The B-41 was a thermonuclear weapon deployed by the United States Strategic Air Command in the early 1960s. It was the most powerful nuclear bomb ever developed by the United States, with a maximum yield of 25 megatons. The B-41 was the only 3-stage thermonuclear weapon fielded by the U.S. About 500 bombs were produced between 1960 and 1962, remaining in service until July 1976. The development of Mk-41 began in 1955 to fulfill the U.S. Air Force's requirements for a Class B bomb. It weighed 10,000 pounds, making it a high-yield thermonuclear weapon. The prototypes were test-fired during Operation Hardtack Phase 1 in 1958. The 3-stage thermonuclear weapon was primarily boosted by deuterium-tritium and believed to have used lithium-6 deuteride fuel for fusion stages. Two versions were produced, a clean version with a lead-encased third stage, and dirty uranium-encased version. Both were airdropped by attaching with two parachutes for delayed detonation. During its operational lifetime, the B-41 was the most efficient known thermonuclear weapon in terms of yield to actual weight, with a 5.2 megaton to ton ratio. Its blast yield was 25 to 50% that of the Tsar Bomba, which delivered a blast of 50 or 100 megatons of TNT. The 1st of March 1954 marks one of the most serious nuclear fallout incidents in history. On this day, the United States conducted its largest ever nuclear weapon test, codenamed Castle Bravo, at the Bikini Atoll in the Marshall Islands. Bravo was part of Operation Castle, a nuclear test series designed to develop an aircraft-deliverable thermonuclear weapon. Due to a design error, the explosion reached a yield of 15 megatons, making it 2.5 times larger than expected, and more than 1,000 times as powerful as the Hiroshima bomb. Radioactive fallout from the test spread over more than 11,000 square kilometers. Traces of radioactive material were detected in Australia, India, Japan, the United States, and Europe. The Bikini population had been forcefully moved to other atolls prior to the start of the U.S. nuclear testing program in the Pacific, with the Able test in 1946. Due to the unfavorable weather conditions in which the Bravo test had been conducted, the fallout also affected the inhabited atolls of Rongelap, Utrecht, and others. In addition to uprooting people who had lived on Bikini Atoll for millennia and permanently making their home unlivable, the U.S. government was responsible for the deaths of numerous Japanese fishermen who were working waters nearby. This started a diplomatic standoff with Japan and led many people to criticize America's cavalier attitude toward nuclear war. The bomb weighed approximately 23,500 pounds and was based on the Teller Ulam thermonuclear weapon design. The explosion occurred at 6:45 a.m. local time. The bomb was in a form readily adaptable for delivery by an aircraft and was thus America's first weaponized hydrogen bomb. Seconds after detonation, a mushroom cloud 4.5 miles wide formed. It ultimately reached a height of 130,000 feet. The explosion left a crater on the ocean floor with a diameter of 6,500 feet and a depth of 250 feet. The Mk-17 was the first operational thermonuclear hydrogen bomb developed by the United States. The Mark 17 had a yield equivalent to 25 megatons of TNT. The total production of Mark 17 was 200, and there were 105 Mark 24s produced, all between October 1954 and November 1955. Design and development began when Los Alamos National Laboratory proposed that a bomb design using lithium deuteride with non-enriched lithium was possible. The Mark 17 steel casing was about 3.5 inches thick. It was 24 feet 8 inches long, 61.4 inches in diameter, and weighed between 41,400 and 42,000 pounds. Much of this was casing weight. The Mark 17 bomb was only 4 feet shorter than a Polaris A-1 SLBM, but weighed half again as much. Size-wise, the Mark 17 was the largest nuclear weapon ever built by the United States. In combat, a gigantic 64-foot diameter ribbon parachute was designed to slow down the big bomb, giving the delivery aircraft time to escape the deadly effects of the thermonuclear explosion. On May 27, 1957, a Mark 17 was unintentionally jettisoned from a B-36 just south of Albuquerque, New Mexico. The device fell through the closed bomb bay doors of the bomber, which was approaching Kirtland Air Force Base at an altitude of 1,700 feet. The device's conventional explosives destroyed it on impact, leaving a crater 25 feet in diameter and 12 feet deep. Though a chain reaction was impossible because the plutonium pits were stored separately on the plane, the incident spread radioactive contamination and debris over a mile-wide area. Although the military cleaned up the site in secret, a few fragments of the bomb, some radioactive still, may be found in the area.